All right, Roger, you ready?
And mute your shit unless we do the laugh track and.
Who's doing the intro?
You are, motherfucker.
Oh, Jesus.
Didn't you just volunteer for it?
Josh hasn't done it in a while. I think he should.
All right, I'll do it.
I don't give a shit. And fuck, that's loud. Who's moving their shit?
That was me. I was just readjusting.
Yeah, we can hear that shit like crazy here.
Because I got a good fucking mic.
It's like The Grudge. Lord. Hey, don't forget to do your cocaine snort before you. Good day and welcome to another episode of Culper's Canteen Cup. That's your.
All right, look here, motherfuckers. All right, we ready? All right, everybody, welcome back for episode. Fuck, what episode are we on?
I knew as soon as he did that, I was like, I knew that motherfucker's gonna be like episode. All right, so Joe Biden, we are on episode.
He knew exactly what he said. We're on before he got the word episode out. He knew he made a mistake.
All right, welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience episode number 409.
I meant to say because I was like, I don't know what number we're on, so I'll just say another episode. And then I was like, episode. I was like, oh fuck, all right, what are we on?
So Canteeners, we have a very special guest today. We have Joe Biden. He is on Culper's Canteen Cup. He don't remember his fucking name or what show he's on.
All right, here we go.
Or you know what? Like the advice I give Luke, you can always just say, welcome to the next episode. You'd be like Snoop Dogg. It could be the next episode.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Oh. All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 29, according to Luke and Roger, of Culper's Canteen Cup. Want to thank Carlton Zeus, as always, for those intro tunes. You can find more of his music at Apple Music or www.carltonzeus.com. So get off of Pornhub, head over to carltonzeus.com, Apple Music, give him some clicks, give him some listens, and go buy his shit. All right? It's better music than the garbage you're listening to to Cardi B, which she's not talking to fucking Joe Biden, whatever, right? All right. So we got that out of the way. All right, so this episode, we got a lot to cover. Of course, we're going to talk about that late-term abortion that was the Democratic National Convention, where obviously Joe Biden is now officially the Democratic nominee, which we always knew he was going to be because they were going to screw Bernie out of it again. We knew that was going to happen, but we're going to cover that. We'll cover a bunch of other things going on in the news right now. And I'll tell you, if you haven't bought any Tesla stock, head out there, buy it. I would like my shares to go up. I need some money, and take a look at that stock market. The last month has been pretty good. So I'm going to throw it over to Roger, and Roger's going to give us his thoughts. The convention and what he's thinking. Looking at the outline, says Roger, and then talk. What Luke typed out for us.
Yeah, I was going to say that must be another Luke outline, right? Gosh, intro, Roger talk. So, and talking about the Pornhub thing, there was an article the other day that I read about it that they're saying because of the whole COVID thing, they're not able to kick out like enough porn across the industry because streaming has gone up like 400,000% or some stupid shit.
No new porn, man. You remember Downrange? Yeah. There was a drive with 56. Well, no, not 56. It was, I think, 6 terabytes of porn. 6 terabytes of porn.
No, like good porn, not like that Afghani shit that you watch Downrange or.
No. It was in Iraq.
Like that. Yeah, way better, man. Way better. I remember we had the little, and it seems like no matter where you go, if you picture outside of Fort Bragg back in the 80s and 90s, that's kind of like what every, third world country that we go to that we have a fob or an outpost. That's what it looks like. And I remember Haiti, it was the same thing. You had this shithole little wooden shacks and they're all selling little fucking DVDs. And yeah, dude, there's some there's some pretty raunchy shit out there. So it's anyway, it's another topic for another day. Going on to late term abortion. So both of you guys, the DNC, right? So the Democratic National Conventions happened over the last 4 nights. I tell you, I honestly, so night one, and I remember we were all texting and on Facebook Messenger or whatever. I gave an honest attempt. Like, I fixed my dinner early. I'm like, I'm going to eat. I've got my water. All my chores are done. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this thing, because one of the things is, we're obviously very opinionated. Some of us more than others, Josh. But one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're educated. So I try not to take all of my news, like we've discussed previously. I try not to take it all from Fox News or just one specific news source. I want to see it for myself, make my own interpretation. And then, from then I can take some input or outside advice from listening to the pundits or whatever. But so I sat down. I honestly tried to watch this thing. I think I gave it 8 minutes. I think I made it 8 minutes into day one. And I'm like, I can't fucking do this, man. Like, this is boring as fuck. So I sat there and watched that for the 8 minutes. And I think I don't know, Luke. I mean, how did you end up watching the rest of it? I think I pretty much did what Josh did. I went to like Fox News and pulled up some tweets and stuff like that. I mean, were you able to follow it at all?
No, only because it come on so late over here. I think it starts 9:00 Eastern. So it came on so late. I was kind of behind. I would look at Twitter, see what a few of the pundits said, and then videos and the reaction after the first day, because I got to see the reaction first thing in the morning, and it was pretty funny. It went down party lines for the most part, with the left saying it's great, it's like the fireside chat, it makes you feel nice, and the right saying it seemed like a 2-hour long Marriott commercial saying Orange Man's bad. So I don't know, man. I see Ava Longoria apparently the first day was the host or whatever, and it's like, God, you gotta again, Hollywood, the most in touch people in the world, as we know, are Hollywood celebrities, especially washed up ones. So yeah, it was but I'm gonna say, I can't wait to see what the RNC is gonna be. Is it gonna be better? Is it gonna be about the same? Is it gonna be the shoddy production quality? Because the videos I watched, it was sad to me, because you look at the national conventions, those of you who aren't familiar with them, or you've been in a cave or you just don't follow it, they're very raucous, kind of fun, rowdy events for both sides. I think the DNC last election cycle, back when Hillary got the nomination, it was contentious, but it was interesting, man. There was a lot of stuff going on. Bernie Sanders storming off the stage after he endorsed Clinton, which he did not want to do. And it was like, wow, there's some drama. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of energy. And you're not going to have that from either side this time. And it's sad to me. And I think it's indicative of kind of, the mood in the U.S. right now. It's just, everybody's scared, frightened, not sure how to act. And, there's more to say about the DNC, but I'm going to kick it to Josh for day 2. Anything you want to say about day 1? But the big surprise on day 2 that I was just like, unfucking believable. It was just like, this is too perfect. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So for day 1, I did the same thing as Roger. I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this so I can see what they have to say. I lasted about 8 minutes, 8 or 9 minutes. That's what she said. And it was done. Right. I just I could not stomach another 2 minutes of it, because, and day 2, the whole thing in a nutshell was a bunch of people getting paraded out, a bunch of people who are absolutely not everyday people, that are completely out of touch with Joe Sixpack in America, talking about how, bad they have it. Eva Longoria, yes, tell me your troubles. You're worth about $80 million. Please tell me about the struggles that you face day to day in your life, right? People are like, oh, money can't buy happiness. Well, I would rather be sad in a BMW, in a 7 Series BMW, honestly. I would rather be sad. Yeah, exactly, right? But the second day, they trotted out Bill Clinton. They trotted out Bill Clinton, right? I'm going to say that for everybody one more time. the party of #MeToo, the party that drug and ruined Brett Kavanaugh during his Supreme Court justice nomination about sexual assault, trotted out Bill Clinton. The same day that the photos were released of Bill Clinton receiving a massage in an airport in Portugal while on a trip with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was receiving a massage from one of the girls that has accused Jeffrey Epstein of sexual assault and being raped. All 3 days of it was basically the Democrats trotting out and saying things about Trump that they ignore about themselves and their own party. That's what it was. That's all the DNC was. I laughed, and I was hilarious when AOC came out and was like, yeah, I support Bernie Sanders. I'm for Bernie Sanders, right? And you could just feel the old guard's head, man. You could feel Pelosi and Schumer and all those idiots. You could feel their heads exploding. There was that energy that was missing, right? They knew it was coming, but still, they know. And it's funny. You listen to them and they talk about, Trump's going to steal the election. Trump's going to cheat. Trump's going to, this, that, and the other. It's like Bernie Sanders came out knowing that he's been screwed over twice. Like Bernie's been screwed twice by his party. And he came out and like the good foot soldier came out and towed the line and spoke the party message. That is a party full of cucks. That's all they are. That is a party full of cucks, man. It was just, I couldn't watch it. I didn't finish it. You had Michelle Obama come out and talk, on day 3. And when she talked about those ripping kids away from their parents and putting them in cages, it was, I saw that on social media and it was like, bitch, your husband built those cages. Like that's been widely debunked that Trump started that. That's just, I was absolutely fine. The whole thing was just mind boggling. And I don't understand why people keep voting for those idiots. It was a disaster, but whatever.
So how fast did it take for them to walk back the AOC endorsement of Biden or of Bernie?
It was quick. It was quick because NBC, NBC came out. It said something about it, and then she clamped back on. They said something about it like an hour after it happened or before it happened, I think, something like that. So she clapped back on them. They deleted the tweet. Usually they retract and correct, but they deleted it, even though they were right. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. It was crazy because, like, for the media, it seems like every time is the first time. Like they have no idea what's going on because here's what happened. AOC was pissed that she only had 60 seconds because, AOC deserves more time than that, right? So she was pissed. Fuck you guys. I'm going to show you my 60 seconds. She comes out, endorses Bernie Sanders, and then Pelosi, her fucking right death stare is like, hey, you're going to fucking unfuck this, right? So then AOC comes out, well, this was a procedural thing that was agreed upon before this because Bernie received so many votes. Because I remember them doing this last time, right? That's what happened. And of course, the media, who's been covering politics since the day that politics had begun. Oh, this is all new. Oh yeah, this is clearly just a procedural thing. Oh, that's funny because you guys were the ones on the news immediately after saying, "Holy shit, she just fucking endorsed Bernie Sanders." So I mean, it's so funny how man, that cycle was fast. I mean, it was within 4 or 5 hours where that just from the AOC event to nominating Bernie to the death stare to the media freaking out to rolling it back. Oh, well, we weren't really freaked out about it. It was just a procedural thing. Oh, I get it. Now you're an expert, but 2 hours ago you weren't, and you were all freaked the fuck out. So with the overall convention, let me give you some rundowns here, some numbers, and kind of give you a kind of allude or talk a little bit about what Josh was bringing up with Bill Clinton and some other things. So and first of all, I don't want to forget. So Luke, don't forget to bring this back up with the RNC because we're going to talk a lot of shit about the DNC and the performance. But here's the thing, man, the DNC went first. So, I get it. They're not the incumbent, yada, yada, yada. But bottom line is it hasn't been done before. They came out and fucking dude is trial by fire. that's happened, the RNC needs to fucking show up next week. I mean, I kind of said it tongue in cheek, but goddamn Trump better jump out of a fucking C-130 with the Golden Knights wearing a fucking, bikini fucking, stars and stripes fucking, shooting an M4 and throwing fucking Molotov cocktails or something, right?
With the ghost of Steve McQueen. With the ghost of Steve McQueen and 10 fucking Roman gladiators.
Exactly. I mean, he's got to do something like that, because you can't sit there and shit all over it and then come up with the same fucking Zoom, whatever the fuck that the DNC did. So with the Democratic National Convention overall, and I don't know how to take this yet. I guess we'll have to see how the RNC plays out, because all they had to compare it was the 2016. So the first night viewership was down 28% from the 2016. Second night down 48%. Now, here's the media for you. The third night, it was down 14%, but the media didn't report that it was down 14% because there was actually an uptick in viewers. They were like, hey, we were better than night two. It was up to 21 million. But no, you were still down 14% year over year. So the first two nights you've been down, but again, it's that spin from the media, right? We don't want to show that the ratings are down. We're just, hey, it was better than last night. Well, last night sucked shit. So I'm not sure that that's really something that you should be proud of. Overall, and we're still waiting for the stats from last night, but overall, it looks like there were about 18 to 20 million viewers, probably down over the course of 2016 to now, down about 30% across the board. And again, who knows why that is? Electricity out there, lack of excitement. I get it. It's a lot different when you're doing things virtually versus being in person. But kind of going to what Josh is talking about a little bit. So a lot of speakers. Let me give you a rundown of some of the major speakers, and there's an overarching theme here. But so you had Bernie Sanders, Governor Cuomo, who killed all those people in New York because he sent people that tested positive for COVID-19 back in the nursing home that nobody wants to have a hearing about because Trump is bad. Governor Whitmer, who forbid people to go to Home Depot and buy goddamn seeds or anything else. Right, the whole fucking state is shut down. John Kasich, which I mean. Dude, where's that guy even been for like the last 4 years? I mean, one, who cares? And two, it's like, and now it's like, you want to have this gotcha moment, right? I got you. You know what? There are a lot of other fucking people I would pull out besides John Kasich. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's right up there with Mitt Romney. Dude, you lost to Trump. You can sit there and say Trump is a shitbag and you don't like him and da-da-da-da-da. But you know what? He was clearly better than you because you lost to him. And he can't get over it. So, I see all the reports. Help us rebuild the Republican Party by voting for Joe Biden. How the fuck does that work? Right? That don't work. So anyway, so you bring John Kasich out. You bring Michelle Obama. You had AOC. We talked about that, nominating Bernie. You had John Kerry and Jimmy Carter. And I don't know if you could get any drier than John Kerry and Jimmy Carter. First of all, Jimmy Carter, like, I don't even want you to say that you were a Democrat. You were so long ago that we could claim like you were part of the Whig Party or something else, right? I mean, we don't even fucking, hey, dude, yeah, you're not a Democrat. So you had John Kerry, Jimmy Carter, then you had Bill Clinton come out. And of all the things, I mean, one, it was sad because Bill Clinton, here's the thing. When you look at Clinton and Barack Obama, great orators, but they speak well in front of people and feed off the energy. Kind of like a Bernie Sanders, right? Feeds off the energy. There's electricity out there. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But one, he's obviously getting older, a little bit slower. You don't have the energy out there. And of all the fucking things he's going to talk about, let's talk about character. Really? Dude, I mean, are you, Josh, you said it. It's like, it's the fucking hashtag me too. Are you fucking serious? Of all the fucking things you're going to have this guy talk about, that's what he's going to talk about.
When he chastised Trump about Trump's conduct in the Oval Office, like I when I watched that clip afterwards, I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, there's a lot to unpack there when Bill Clinton accuses you of conduct unbecoming in the Oval Office. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And it goes farther. I mean, so then you get Hillary Clinton, which again, I don't even know why you would bring her in, because it seems like the party is, well, I mean, maybe it's just because they got so much power, because they're trying so hard to distance themselves, but man, they just never quite cut the cord, man. It's like, fucking it, jettison that shit. Let it go. So you bring her in there, which doesn't help the case because, you can make the argument that a lot of people that voted in 2016, they just fucking hated Hillary, or that didn't vote. They just didn't show up because they didn't like her. And so I don't know you want her associated with your party, or even associated with the Biden campaign, because that just brings out a lot of hatred for folks. Elizabeth Warren, I get it. She's out there on that Bernie side. She does get fired up. She brings people out. But then you bring out, Kamala Harris, obviously, Gavin Newsom, Buttigieg, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. So those are your major players. Here is the overarching theme that I got from this, and I'll cover this in a little bit more as far as specifics with Joe Biden. But out of everything, all I heard for the 4 days, and I went back like both of you guys did, and I caught it on YouTube. I would catch snippets. I read the transcripts, listened to pundits, watch the news. Trump is bad. What he's done is bad. We're in bad shape. We're all, the United States is fucking going to hell. We're the only ones to fix it, but I'm not going to tell you how. That's what I got. That's what I got. And I think what hurt me a lot was they have a very pessimistic view of Americans, America, the state of our country, and where we're going. And here's the other thing that's amazing to me. Biden, you were in office with Obama for 8 fucking years. So what you did was so great, right? You put America on the perfect track. And then all of a sudden, the last 4 years, now, hey, man, country's going to fucking end. That's all over with. So it's like, so do we not talk about your 8 years that you were in office? Or, hey, how about this? You've been in government for 47 years. But now, in your declining mental state, now you have all the answers for how to fix shit. That to me is just mind-boggling. It's like, so where was this at for the last 47 years? Okay, well, I'll take it even, let's trim it down. Where was this during the last 8 years? Hey, if you've got all the answers, why didn't you tell Barry about all that shit? Because they obviously didn't have all the answers. And then when you bring out Kamala Harris, and this is what I cannot, and I can't wait for some of the campaigning that goes on, because don't forget, we've got the sexual assault claims against Biden that are still out there. So we touched on this a little bit ago, and we've talked about this in our previous episode, but Kamala Harris, who says that I believe her, how does she reconcile being his vice president? And it just shows you, it's right there with bringing Bill Clinton to talk about character, right? You're bringing Bill Clinton to sit there and talk about character. You've got Cuomo and you've got Newsom and all these people that they're talking about, all the bad things Trump's doing with COVID-19. Dude, those 2 states have killed more fucking people from COVID-19 than like almost the rest of the world combined. It's an exaggeration, not that many, but it's a lot of fucking people. So, when you look at, which nobody's touched on, right, the Biden assault claims, but then here's the other thing. Here's one other thing that was missing. 2 things. One, policy, which we can get to in a minute. But 2, hey, aren't there some riots going on somewhere? Right? Those are happening, right? Like New York City, they're still rioting, marching down the street. Portland almost killed a man. So no mention of any of that stuff. So, that's kind of my overarching theme. That was my take of it. We can get into Joe Biden's speech here in a minute as far as specifically what he said, because it probably was the best speech of all of them, over the course, as well as it should be, right? And also it was teleprompted, and he only had one fuck up. They said that there's nothing that we've been able to accomplish when we all do it together. So I don't know what that means. That means if we're all together, we're not going to achieve our goals, or I get what he's trying to say, but again, overall, not a bad speech. I think he got across what he wanted to say, but that's kind of my takeaway from it. Luke, do you see anything different, or you kind of the same, or what?
No, as far as your takeaway is the theme, 100%. 100%, that was my takeaway. Orange Man bad. Things are horrible. He did everything wrong. He's doing everything wrong. And the only way out of it is to vote for us. But we're not going to tell you exactly what you said. Joe's speech, I'll get back to that. But what did I say about AOC? Go back. You loyal cantiners will remember what I said in one of our first episodes. I said, well, one of the first 6, I think, when we were talking about Biden and AOC, whether she's going to stick to her guns, I said, I will respect AOC more if she does not endorse Biden. And she didn't. So, hey, man, props to her for that. But saying I respect her more is not saying much. but she didn't endorse Biden. So there's that. But Josh wrote it in the. I had it down to cover it. It was just, I love the fact that she endorsed Bernie. I love the fact that Bill Clinton's is up there, because it's just, all this is just so, it's so tough to wrap my head around. But what Josh wrote, and I had it written down to say, was that on night day 3, I think, I really lost my shit. I was like, this can't be true. This has got to be the Babylon Bee or something, where Elizabeth Warren was scheduled to speak publicly in a sit-down meeting with the Native American caucus. I mean, fuck, she was like the guest of honor, and it's like, God, I thought, no. This is Babylon Bee. I really thought, and it was like, nope, that's whatever legit news source it was. And I'm like, and apparently they got roasted so hard on the live stream that they shut it down, because they were like, people are out there like, are you fucking people serious? You couldn't find anyone else. She couldn't find any other caucus to go to. You had to send her to that one. I mean, that stuff is fodder for Trump. I mean, it's unbelievable, to Trump, real quick, in the RNC and his campaign. I don't know if you guys noticed, but they took out a 7-figure ad campaign on YouTube. The biggest one yet. The DNC is not touching that. So when I see stuff like that, and the fact that when you go to the Washington Post, people, you click on a news story, especially about the DNC or Biden, there is a Trump banner that you scroll by, and it fills up the whole screen, and you got to keep scrolling. They paid a lot of money for Washington Post. All these journalists are all pissed off about it, saying, Washington Post, how dare you do that? It's like, dude, you're journalists, and this is like a campaign. This is what happens. And if the Washington Post didn't take their money, that would give them less credibility, because you can't just take one party's money and not the others, because it's too early for an entire newspaper, and an editorial staff are the ones who endorse candidates, not a fucking newspaper. Okay. But anyway, so the 47 years, interesting tidbit. 47 years Joe Biden has been in public office, I should say. That's 18.5% of the time the United States has existed. 18.5% of U.S. history has Joe Biden as an elected official, or at least in public. It's unbelievable. It's like, I hear you, Roger, with the term limits and stuff. I hear you. But like, when you're creeping up on 20% the time a nation has existed, I mean, come on, dude. What? You should be able to point to a lot of accomplishments. In 20%, come on, man. It's like Joe Biden, okay, to the speech. And this is definitely, I think, and as I'm watching the speech, I'm like rolling my eyes and I'm squinting, looking at him. I think this is my bias coming through. You talked about low energy from Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter. I mean, Jimmy Carter, I'll give a pass because he's like 189 years old. But with Joe Biden, it's like the energy. He looks like an old man, like a really old man, like a great granddad to me. And he got kind of worked up toward the end, and kind of got that Joe Biden anger, which pisses me off. I get a visceral reaction when Joe Biden gets mad, because it's like, old man, one palm to the chest and I will cave it in. So
I'm going to take your ass out back behind that barn and beat your ass, Sonny.
Yeah. Push-up contest, whatever, So, yeah, I could. To me, it was a comedy. I'm with you, Roger, as far as the RNC. I'm anxious to see how they clap back. I hope that there are no, I love him to death. He's one of my heroes. But I hope that there are no Clint Eastwood boners where he sits up there and talks to an empty chair. Because to me, that was I didn't like that. I thought it was stupid. So hopefully they don't do anything stupid or kitschy or whatever. But I'll tell you what, folks out there, we're getting away from the DNC right now. I'm kind of going over to the RNC. If you haven't checked out Kim Klacik, that's Klacik. If you haven't checked, type in Kim Klacik on YouTube, Kim Klacik ad. And real pretty African-American woman in a red dress walking down the shittiest streets in Baltimore, telling it like it is. And she's running for rep there down in Baltimore. I think they're doing their, I don't know when their primary is, but she's not going to win because I think she's in like a D plus 18 district or something. It's crazy, but that's the future of the right. She's the future. Listen to what she says of conservatives, not the right. She's the future of conservatism as far as politically speaking. You listen to what she says and you tell me if you think she's all messed up, because man, she hits it on the head. And if she doesn't speak at the RNC, they are missing out on a huge opportunity. And I will call that mistake number one if she is not scheduled to actually speak, because they need to see her as the future. It's people like her. You know, that's what I think. I think people like her are right up there with Crenshaw and some of these other young up and comers who are intelligent and kind of represent, you know, what conservatives, I think, like us, the three of us, are all about, not the old men, you know, like our dads, our granddads. It's a different movement now. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I watched Kim Klasik's video probably 3 or 4 times, and the cool thing was that she got tens of millions more views on her video than Michelle Obama got on her DNC convention video. More people watch Kim Klasik than Michelle Obama, if that tells you anything, right? And people, the left is scared. They're scared of people like Kim Klasik because it takes away their entire narrative that the conservative party is, you know, the party of old white men. Granted, the DNC is nominating an old white man as, you know, as their nominee, but it's no, Kim Klasik is the future. Dan Crenshaw is the future, you know, and it's definitely not our, you know, our dads or granddad's party anymore for the most part. The whole thing, like Joe Biden, right? Somebody said that they were going to, so there's a scheduled interview with Biden and Harris. They're sitting down and they're like, no questions off limits, blah, blah, blah. But they're sitting down with David Muir and Robin Roberts, right? It was like, and people are touting this like no holds barred, like it's gonna be like the Royal Rumble when Ultimate Warrior, you know, comes out at the last minute and starts throwing bitches out of the ring. Like, dude, you think David Muir and Robin Roberts, you think they're going to come in with the hard-hitting questions? You think they're going to ask Kamala Harris, hey, you said you stood on stage and said publicly you believe that Joe Biden was guilty of sexual assault. You turned around and accepted the nomination for vice president to come work for him. How do you reconcile that? You stand up on the stage and you call somebody, you know, basically a rapist, but then you turn around and take a job offer from
Hashtag
him.
not me.
I don't know if Willie Brown. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if Willie Brown gave her the same opportunity, or, you know, she said the same thing about him before she, you know, took that job offer and that little favor from him, that money. So the hypocrisy of all of these people, it just, God, man, it gnaws my bones. And I apologize in advance to my mom and Luke's mom, but it's like, this is one episode where it's like, dude, fuck these people. Like, seriously. Like, fuck these people and their hypocrisy. These people are the worst. And I had never thought about it the way you put it, Luke. 18% of the time the United States has existed, Joe Biden has been in office. Holy shit. Wow. Absolutely. That destroys anything you like. It's mind-boggling. Like, it's truly mind-boggling.
And he's been wrong on everything, right? I mean, everything from NAFTA to the TPP to, I mean, dude, you name it. Every single major thing that he's voted on, he's been wrong.
Even Bob Gates, one of the best secretaries of defense that we've ever had, right, came out and was like, yeah, Joe Biden's been wrong on pretty much every foreign policy issue for the last 40 years. Like,
look, I thought you would get one president. Right. I mean, God.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, even, God, man, you have a 50-50 chance of getting this right, and you always pick the wrong answer. And now you want this guy to be president? Are you out of your mind? You know, you were the other thing that killed me is like, right. So for 3 days, we listened to the DNC talk about how America is, institutionally racist, how we're racist to our core as a country, and, blah, blah. And then they turned around and was like, the country filled with great people. We're like, well, hold on. A couple things, right? So either the country's filled with great people or the country is racist, right? You can't have it. They're racist are not great people. I think we can all agree on that. And what institutions and what cities are shitholes right now? Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco, Milwaukee, New York,
Portland,
Junction.
Right? You look Portland, Patsy Junction.
Fucking Luke's hometown.
Patsy Junction.
Glendale's up there, right?
Right. You look at all these cities, who's been running them for decades, not years, not like, hey, we just took over the last couple of years. We're talking decades. Decades. Kim Klacik pointed out in Baltimore. Baltimore's been run by Democrats for 53 years. And in 53 years, you haven't been able to fix it? If we were as bad at our jobs as they are at theirs, like we'd have been fired a long time ago. It's just, you can't sit here and Joe Biden's like, all these systems are racist and this is racist and that's right. Motherfucker, you were the second most powerful man in the free world for 8 years. 8 years. And you didn't fix it? You haven't fixed it in your 47, 48 years in office? What makes me think you're going to fix it now? You barely know your shapes and colors now. You don't know two of your grandkids. I mean, granted, they're Hunter Biden's illegitimate children that he refuses to pay child support for.
Moral character,
right?
Like my family, except for him.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. When Hunter spoke, it was like, hey, man, did you bring your kids with you? Oh, you didn't bring your kids with you? No? Did you bring the stripper from IHOP with you? No? Okay. All right, guy. They just stand up there and have those people lecture all of us, lecture America on morals. It's like you can't even call them out on it because they don't care. Like, they don't care about their hypocrisy. They just don't. So when you bring it up, they're just like, whatever, I'm just going to go say whatever it is I'm going to say, regardless. Right? Joe Biden, back in this, back in the 70s, talking about, desegregating some stuff and this, that, and the other. Is like, I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle. Like, literally, that's what he said. I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle. Could you imagine the fucking meltdown if a conservative came out and said that? Like, thermonuclear meltdown. This shit would look like Hiroshima 2 seconds after the bomb went off. Like, it would be absolutely insane. And turn around, look at the cities, look at what's going on. If you want more of that, then by all means, go out and vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And just the hypocrisy is, it's mind-numbing. It is absolutely mind-numbing.
And I don't get it. I mean, you said it yourself. When you look at the shitholes in this country, and again, it's obviously all about politics, but I could care less whether it's the left or the right, because if there's a city that's run, primarily by the GOP or the right side, I'd say the same fucking thing. But fuck, man, how much longer do you have to be a shithole before you say, hey, we need to change a direction here? I mean, when you look at like Baltimore, when you look at San Francisco, which San Francisco used to be a beautiful city. When you look at Denver, when you look at New York City, I mean, at what point that people are like, hey, New York City primarily, look at where New York City was under Giuliani and even under Bloomberg, right? And then you take it from that to now. At what point do you say, hey, clearly this isn't fucking working? But they'll continue to vote for these fuckers. That's what I don't get. They'll continue to vote for them. And it's like, how hard-headed do you have to be? When you have AOC and Omar and these folks that are winning their primaries, like, she literally ran out like $24 million worth of jobs and employment through Amazon, 2,500 jobs, right, from Amazon. It's like, how do you keep a lady like that in office? I mean, some of that stuff, man, it's just beyond me, and I don't get it. But going to let's go to the last night. So you've got Biden. He gives his speech. which is a little weird anyway, because, I'll get into his speech in a second, but like after it was done, he walks outside, the fireworks are going off. He's wearing the mask, and then he takes the mask off. The people behind him are wearing masks. So I don't, this will kind of dovetail into the whole COVID thing, I think, next, but I'm kind of confused. I'm like, so the masks protect you from spreading, not you from catching. The folks behind you are wearing the mask. You take your mask off. So wouldn't you be giving them COVID? It just, dude, it's like inconsistent, right? There's just no consistency there. It makes no sense to me. So I do. One of the things that pain me, and I hope that they do this during the RNC, but lack of policies and how you're going to get to the end state that you're claiming you're going to get to. It's easy to say, hey, we're going to make America great again, but I don't know how you're going to do it. And out of all the speeches that I've heard, so this is the one from Biden, and he's being lauded, because it was a good speech. And of course, the left is like, he laid out a lot of good things. Well, I went back through and read the transcript of that speech. So the only piece that I could pull that there was some remote resemblance of any type of policy or actual plan. So he talks about COVID. Just lost the president on the facts. 5 million Americans infected with COVID-19. More than 170,000 Americans have died. By far the worst performance of any nation on earth. More than 50 million people have filed for unemployment this year. More than 10 million people are going to lose their health insurance this year. Nearly 1 in 6 small businesses have closed this year. So, you know what? For argument's sake, I'm not even going to debate any of those statistics. I'll bring that up a little bit later. But okay, so let's take that at face value. Was it the president that shut down the states? And we brought this up last time, but it's, where are the governors at? Where are your county, your county leadership, your town leaders? It's like everything's, orange man bad. He's a dictator, but then you bitch because he came in to shut down your cities and your counties and your states. No, he didn't do that. Your governors did that. Your county boards did that. Your mayors did that. I mean, look at New York. That's a prime example. So you sit there and again, we'll talk about the COVID numbers here in a minute, but you talk about unemployment and the business and this and that. And this is my one problem with the states going back to the federal government saying, hey, we need bailout money and this and that. Hey, motherfuckers, I didn't shut your states down. I didn't tell you to close your restaurants. I didn't tell you to close your bars. The states did that. You did that. Whether it be, red or blue, I could care less. You did that yourselves. And that goes back to having to weigh. It's not just the medical piece. It's also, you have to take the economy in and politics and, the welfare of the people. And it's a whole basket, right? It's not just the medical piece. But anyway, on to his plan. So then he gives a little, whatever. And he goes, and after all this time, the president still does not have a plan. Well, I do. And this is where he gets fucking, this is where he's laying it out, right? If I'm president on day one, now remember, they did all this during the H1N1 and Ebola too, right? Oh yeah, we don't talk about that anymore. I'm sorry. If I'm president on day one, we'll implement the national strategy I've been laying out since March. Now, I vaguely remember, because the internet was around back then, when Trump was xenophobic, right? Wasn't Trump xenophobic for closing the borders?
Yeah. China fleet,
and Oxus, Barbot and Pelosi with the Chinese New Year. I'm sorry, you're a racist. All you people need to get out on the streets and you need to celebrate this shit. That happened this year, right? Okay, just checking. The internet was still around. So he says, we'll develop and deploy rapid tests with results available immediately. So aren't we doing that as fast as we can now? And so so is he now, does he now own like a biolab corp or something like that? Or, I mean, is he producing these things himself, or he's got some tie-ins with the biotech companies to make him do it faster or better than what they're doing? So he's saying that the companies could be doing it better, could be doing it faster, but they're not. Again, not the government, because the government doesn't do this. It's commercial corporations that do this. So I guess they're not doing that now. We'll make the medical supplies and protective equipment our country needs. Again, I thought we were already doing that. And when they did what was that Defense Production Act or whatever, weren't they bitching against that? Okay, sorry, I'm a little confused here. So I'm trying to, wrap my head around this. And we'll make them here in America, clearly, because he did a great job of that. So we'll never again be at the mercy of China, because China's not a threat. Remember that? Come on, man. China's not a threat. I think he actually said, "Come on, man." Right? Yeah, I think he took that from ESPN. So we'll never again be at the mercy of China and other foreign countries in order to protect our own people. We'll make sure our schools have the resources they need to be open, safe, and effective. So again, what does that mean? What's the plan there? Okay, so you've stated the objective. What's the course of action to get there? We'll put the politics aside and take the muzzle off our experts so the public gets the information they need and deserve. The honest, unvarnished truth, they can deal with that. We'll have a national mandate to wear a mask, not as a burden, but to protect each other. So that was the only snippet in his entire speech that resembled somewhat, and it's not even a policy or a plan, right? I mean, it's more of, maybe some objectives you're laying out there other than the national mandate to wear a mask. National mandate with the wear a mask is the only actual action, which is bullshit anyway, but I'll give them that. That is the only okay, we are going to do this. And that is my plan to combat COVID-19. I mean, did I miss something there, Luke, or that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, well, I think you missed something. Well, you didn't miss it. You kind of covered it. But a big part of this plan is definitely highlighting how bad Trump is doing handling it. You said that kind of at the beginning, alluding to that. It's just, I don't want to talk about Biden with COVID-19. I'm glad he hasn't had it, because I don't wish ill on anybody, but man, it does target the seniors, and it's a good thing he hasn't had it. Same with Trump.
Well, you don't know that because he hasn't been tested. I mean, remember initially,
right.
It's I get tested all the time, and it's like, well, have you been tested? No, I haven't been tested. So you have been tested, or you haven't. Why would I get tested? Fuck, I don't know. Maybe because you're fucking 142 years old and you're running for president of the United States, and this thing specifically targets, or is more, fatal to seniors. I don't know.
Yeah, and he, God, I can't wait for that Biden episode where we put all the quotes together, where they asked him where he took a mental acuity test. But so the COVID stuff. Let's talk. We haven't talked. We haven't talked COVID in a while, so let's kick that one around. I'm gonna save my favorite COVID story of the last you guys, because I'm kind of dense, and I'll let one of those guys cover the headline of I guess for me it's the highest profile COVID story the past 24 hours. To me, it's just God, and it centers around masks. Okay. And like Roger said, he laid out the little logic bomb there, where you start going into a circle. When you go either Alyssa Milano or Roger with it. You go Alyssa Milano, which is mask, or you go Roger, which is, no mask ever. I don't care if it kills the entire population of the world. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not saying that, but you got the two sides. You got the pro and anti-maskers, right? And I'm going to get philosophical with it. And I've talked about this before, because the more you actually think about it as a reasonable person with the whole masks and the countermeasures, or the measures you take against it, the less it makes sense from a reasonable standpoint. Because it's like, okay, we're taking a measure, but this is going to protect everyone. I can go to the store wearing a mask, but I can't go vote. You start reasoning through it and applying logic, and it doesn't make any sense. Now, I do believe everyone should be responsible. Don't try to spread it. Don't try to get sick. Let's be smart. And if it makes people here, one of my things is, if it makes people around me feel comfortable, if I wear a mask, I'll wear a freaking mask. I don't care. Whatever. It's uncomfortable. I was shopping around today in the grocery store, and I was like, this thing is getting on my nerves. But if it makes everyone else feel good, I'll do it. But remember this, when you're talking about your Alyssa Milanos, who is the biggest pro-mask person out there, she and people like her, all the Karens who are yelling at people to wear their masks, what people have to understand is they haven't reasoned through it and decided this is how we beat COVID. To them, it's a control thing. What did I say in one of the first few episodes? Everything is about control. When you are overcome with fear, if you're overcome with a difficult situation, you want to exhibit some form of control, and that's a subconscious thing. You want to have some sort of control over your environment or over yourself. The mask thing, that's all it is a sense of control, a sense of comfort. So these people think that they're in control if they have a mask on and if they're telling everybody else to wear a mask. It ain't about getting the disease or not. It's about control. They may say one thing, but I'm telling you, subconsciously, they're thinking another thing. Same thing goes with the people who are anti-mask and vehemently anti-mask. It's like, they're yelling at people for wearing masks and all this stuff. That's their sense of control over themselves, their sense of independence over a situation that is beyond their control. So when you look at these people, don't get mad, don't get angry, whether you're pro-mask or anti-mask. I just ask you, feel sorry for them, man. All they're doing is trying to exhibit some form of control over themselves and their environment, which they do not have because this thing has been blown so far out of the water. It's beyond, I mean, it's depressing, man. It really is depressing what this has brought the world to, at least the Western world. I mean, cases are ticking up here. They're shutting down borders again, shutting down as far as like you can go into a country, but if you come back, you have to do 14-day quarantine. So it's getting back to what it was like in March, April timeframe. And I think that has to do with the vacation season is over here because Europeans take their vacations their holidays very, very seriously. And I think some smarter people over here, politicians, leaders, thought if we keep our people, if we tell them they can't go on their holiday, we're going to have serious problems on our hands, like Portland type problems. And I think they're right. So I think they let everybody out. The cases are starting to tick up, and I think we're going to lock down again, regardless of what the numbers say. I mean, we can dig into the numbers, and it's like, what is the fatality rate? What's the mortality rate? Comorbidities, pre-existing conditions. It's like no one is looking at this logically. No one is. We can replay episode 4 or whatever, where we talked about COVID, episode 1 even. It's like, man, nothing's changed, man. It's the same type numbers. It's just bigger.
You're clearly not listening to the science.
Oh,
clearly, you're not listening to the science. And I tell you, I want to clarify one thing before I get Josh's opinion on it. So I'm not anti-mask. It's more the way it's being rolled out. It's just inconsistent. It's very inconsistent. And hey, there's a part of personal responsibility. If masks work, then we should be able to vote in person, and you shouldn't have to worry about social distancing. If masks don't work, then why are we wearing masks? If masks work, why are we letting prisoners out? Again, it's the inconsistency of this. So before I throw it to Josh, I did the numbers myself. So I'm sure we have some mathematicians, and we've talked about this last episode and a couple of other episodes. Just straight numbers here. So let's not even get into the fact. Well, I guess we are going to get into the fact because I'm going to bring it up. When I did the math here, I just took the numbers at where they're at. I took them for face value. So what we have is roughly 331 million people in America, as estimated as of 2020. I use the numbers 5.5 million cases and 173,000 deaths. Now, the problem with all of this is that we haven't tested everybody. So we know there are folks out there who have had COVID and recovered that are not tested and a part of the statistics, which is probably a fairly large percentage. I mean, I don't even want to, I don't even know where to estimate that at, but I'd probably say there's at least another 10 to 15% out there, probably more than that. Let's take the 173,000 deaths that we know for a fact that not all of them are COVID-related deaths. Okay. And I would probably venture to say about 40% of them at least are not strictly COVID-related deaths, or COVID is the primary cause of death. It's probably something else. We've talked about, we've talked about this in earlier episodes, but you know what? I'll give you all of that. Let's take it at face value. 331 million people, 5.5 million cases, 173,000 deaths. The fatality rate using those numbers is 3%. 3%. The mortality rate using those numbers is 0.05%. So using those statistics, using those numbers, those that are not, teachers that are walking out, that you can't be in a school, but you can be in a Walmart, you can be at the shopping mall, you can be at the fucking Home Depot, but you can't go vote. Using those numbers, because it's so dangerous, I guess that we're going to cut out all the trans fat. I guess we're going to cut out all the cheeseburgers. I guess we're going to make it mandatory that everybody does physical training 1 hour a week, right? I only say that because if we're doing this for the health and welfare of the people and as a nation, well, I'm sorry, I think heart disease and cancer are the top 2 killers right now in the United States, right? Heart disease and cancer. So, and that gets up into over 500,000 each year apiece. And then accidents was just surpassed by COVID, because I think accidents is right at 170,000. So I guess, the American people will just never leave their houses again. You're going to work out and do physical training inside your house, and you'll just go on a straight vegan diet, because we're only doing this, to protect each other, to protect ourselves, right? So we cut out all the unhealthy food. We cut out all the fatty foods, no more meat. We all do lettuce and fucking tomatoes and milk and water, because heart disease and cancer can also kill you. So we have to take away all risks. So right there, Josh, I kind of want to get your opinion on it, but those are straight line across the board. That's neither left nor right. Those are the numbers, taking them at face value where we're at. Mortality 5% and a fatality rate of 3%. And oh, by the way, using those numbers, that would be the highest level. The reality is it's probably half of that. But you know what? I won't even go there. Let's just go with the 0.05% and the 3%, Josh.
Well, if you let's take the number of New York deaths off that 170K, right? So we're not even, you didn't even get into, okay, exactly what did these people die from? Because we all know that data is garbage. We all know the data is wrong, right? So you take the New York deaths off of that brings us down to about 130K, right? That's when Kumo was too busy killing grandma by putting COVID positive patients back into nursing homes, and his whole thing was, you got to wear a mask so we don't kill grandma, right? You can't go see grandma because we don't want to kill grandma. And like you, I was fine. You want me to wear a mask, man? I'll wear a mask. If you're a private business and you have your little sign that says you have to have a mask to come in, that's fine. I will wear a mask to come in your, to come in your business, because there's some places like I have to go, right? I have to go to the grocery store. I have to go into the post office. I have to go to some places, to get business done. So I'll wear a mask. I got no problem with a private business saying you have to wear a mask to come inside. Okay, fine. I'll wear a mask. I wish I had a mask that on the front of it said I do this under protest, because I do. I don't, I'm not going to chastise anybody for wearing a mask. I'm not going to chastise anybody for not wearing a mask, whatever. But it's with you, it's the inconsistency of which it was applied. Even Fauci already came out and said there is no reason why we cannot vote in person in November. As long as you go to the polling center, wear a mask, socially distance from each other, which I'm positive you can set the voting booth 6 feet apart, and then you can establish the traffic pattern for foot traffic to remain 6 feet apart. If you can't, give Chick-fil-A a call. They'll come around. They'll do your flow for you of cars in and out, and people, they've got that shit down to a science, right? The Lord's chicken knows how to do it. But then everybody was, believe science. Fauci's like, hey, there's no reason why you guys can't go vote in person in November as long as you wear a mask. And everybody was like, oh my God, Trump's making him say this, right? And you're like, no, because yesterday everything that he said was the gospel. And now you're saying that it's not because you don't agree with it. He said, we're not believing that science, right? We only believe the science that we want to believe. Why did we release all these fucking people from prison if masks work? And people that have turned around, there was a guy, I forget what state it was in, they released him from prison because they did not want him to catch COVID. Well, he was in there, he was being arrested for rape. So what did he do? He went and killed his accuser. He went and murdered his accuser. I got to find the news story again.
Imagine that, huh? Who would have thought that was going to happen?
Yeah, right. Right. We didn't want that guy to catch COVID and get sick. So we're going to let him out of prison. That he's in prison for, being accused of a violent crime. It's just the insanity of it all, the inconsistency to which it was applied. And, I remember very distinctly back in March when it was, hey, we have to quarantine and shut down just long enough to flatten the curve. Right. It was just to flatten the curve to ensure our medical facilities were not overwhelmed. Now, why are we still shut down?
Josh, you're making a mistake there because you found the internet was around back then. So, I mean,
right. So in North Carolina, Roy Cooper, one of the absolute dumbest governors to ever be elected, still won't let gyms open, still won't let certain businesses open because, well, there's new cases every day. Bro, there's going to be new cases of this every day for the next decade, right? There are going to be new cases every day of this for the foreseeable future. They shut down the economy. The governors, like you said, the governors, mayors, everybody, they shut down the stores and the economy, they turned around and were like, I can't believe Trump destroyed the good economy. Like, motherfucker, you're the one that shut it down. You're the one that demanded everything be shut down because grandma, we didn't want to kill grandma. And in the interim, while Kumo had everything shut down, dude, he's killing grandma. And everybody, because the problem with Americans, they have an attention span of a damn goldfish. They don't, dude, nobody knows what happened back in March. Nobody knows what was said back in March. People are like, March, it's like, it's like what's her face from Titanic, it's like it's been 84 years since March. I don't fucking know anything about March. Who said what in March? Shit, man, Tiger King was in February. Nobody remembers Tiger King anymore. Nobody. It's insane, dude. It's absolutely insane.
When you said that, when you said the Titanic thing, when you said the Titanic thing, I got a mental image in my head of someone asking that was great, man. The mental image you made in my head was awesome, dude. What I thought you guys were going to bring up, and I went and poured myself a drink. I'm drinking a little Boulay Rye, so the tears may start flowing, as Roger and Josh will tell you at any moment. So
he gets sensitive when he drinks, folks.
When I drink Boulay Rye, I don't know what it does to you, but man, I just become this like gross wad of emotion. It's horrible. But you guys might have brought it up while I was pouring a drink. I don't think so. But turns out that, I've always been a little pissed off about the Afghanistan or the Bin Laden raid thing. Always been a little upset about that because, man, I'm an Army guy, man. I'm an Army guy, and Army, what's rumored to be called Delta Force, right? And I always thought Delta Force should be the one to take down Bin Laden, but it was, of course, SEAL Team 6. And when I heard about the raid, I was like, ooh, was it Delta or the SEALs? Was it Delta or the SEALs? And when I heard they crashed a helicopter, I knew it was the SEALs immediately. I was like, yep, that was SEAL Team 6. Yep, they crashed a helicopter. They fucked it up. Yep, that was SEAL Team 6. So I'm always a little pissed about that. So I look at a headline right before we got on. I'm a little slow on the uptake. In the last 24 hours, it says, the headline says, Delta bans Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill. And I was like, what? And it all clicked, because Rob O'Neill took a picture of himself not wearing a mask on a Delta Airlines flight, and Delta Airlines banned him. And he got in a big Twitter spat. He kind of melted down, and Delta banned SEAL. But anyway, I think Roger said it's Nate. What did you say? Delta's always shitting on the SEALs or something like that.
Yeah, that was Josh.
Yeah, but it was funny because in the Twitter feed, there's a guy with a Marine Corps hat on sitting behind Rob O'Neill, and somebody made the comment, just like the Navy always shitting on the Marines. And I was like, really? Come on, guys. Whatever.
Dude, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah, I don't like him too much. He's the guy who supposedly killed Bin Laden. There's that other SEAL. They got it, whatever. So, yeah, you said something else funny, Josh, and I got this mental image. It's very rare that the three of us get together, but to let you guys behind the curtain of what goes on with me, Roger, and Josh, man, I want you to think of Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Spicoli walks into the burger place and just rips off his shirt. Man, that's how Roger, Josh, and I roll, man. When we walk into a place, the shirt comes off, dude, first thing. Because, you don't see the sign anymore, So it's like, boom, shirt comes off, bro. Until they tell me, put it back on, then I'll put it back on, I'm from Texas. Josh is from Southern Alabama, and Roger's from parts unknown. So, man, we're not tame, man. We walk into a place, the shirt comes off, and so is the mask. That's all there is to it, man. But whatever. That's a little aside. So let's talk about this. It's not okay to go to Gam Gam's funeral after you killed her for not wearing a mask to Target. It's not okay to go to a wedding, but it's okay to go to a Black Lives Matter rally. It's okay to go to a riot. And to kind of tie this back into the COVID thing with presidential authorities and stuff like that, People bitched and moaned when Trump sent in Department of Homeland Security to protect the federal courthouse there in Portland. And then when he pulled him out, people bitched and moaned about that, saying, why isn't Trump doing more? It's a strange situation with these riots, but one of the things we want to talk about on my great outline here, my outline says, riots, talk about it, kick to Roger. So I think that's clear enough, Roger. What do you think?
I don't understand it, because the rioters, they are who they are. They're a bunch of shit bags or whatever. So fuck them. They shall be arrested and whatever. I don't understand what is the mindset of the local leadership? I mean, we bitched about this on several episodes. Like, how can you, even politically, right? Even if you hate Trump because he's orange man bad and I don't like him or whatever, but as a local mayor, or, your town or your county, or even your governor, how do you intend on getting reelected? Now, de Blasio don't give a fuck, because I think he's at his term limit and I think he's fucking done anyway. But for you look at Portland, I don't know the status up there or whatever, as far as, their election in terms, but how can you sit there and just let your city burn to the ground like that and do fucking nothing? I mean, they are breaking the law. And I tell you what, man, this goes back to the New York Times, and what is it, the 1619 Project, where you're trying to rewrite history, and you're starting to, Barry set it up there, and Michelle set it up there, and a bunch of other folks, alluded to it during the DNC. It's the rewriting of history, and we're not even trying to rewrite history, like old history. We're rewriting shit that happened 2 days ago. We're trying to rewrite shit that happened yesterday. Well, you know what? You're arresting peaceful protesters. Dude, I haven't seen a fucking peaceful protester in the last 3 weeks. It's all been riots. Now, I get it. There are obviously some folks out there, protesting and this and that. But what's making the news right now, it's rioters and it's looters. It's where are they get up there during their DNC speeches and they talk about all these peaceful protesters that are being, arrested. Dude, what are you doing about the rioters? Why not address that? And, and I want to segue in this to another piece, and you can talk about them both, Josh. It's the one, nobody's addressing it on the left, which I think is going to fucking crush their nuts. I think once you get into the debates, and I just don't think that during the debate, if it happens, and just out there on the campaign stuff, when the interviews and stuff start happening, if they happen, you can't just say, well, I'm against the rioters and looters and I'm all for peaceful protests. I just don't think that cuts the mustard anymore, because nobody's condemning those actions. And especially as a local leader, and if you're a local town council, mayor, whatever, if you are silent about that, like they said with the Me Too thing, right? Well, you're condoning it. Silence is whatever the fuck he said. But it's you're not even addressing it. So this, exactly. Yeah. Silence is consent. So then I roll this into, I know it's two separate topics, but kind of the same. The campaign mode. So I think we can reasonably say that had Hillary Clinton actually campaigned in Michigan and Wisconsin and some of the Rust Belt, that she would probably be the president right now. So when you look at what's going on with the riots, none of that's being addressed. When you look at Biden and Kamala not campaigning, I don't even know what their schedule is. I don't know if they are going to campaign. I know Biden hasn't done shit in 6 months. I have no idea what Harris is going to do. Trump was up there in Scranton, outside of his hometown, campaigning the other day. So when you're not getting the word out there as far as, hey, what's your stance on defunding the police? When you're not getting your word out there, and I'm not just talking about your 2-minute clips, but some hard questions, right? Back and forth. Where do you stand on this? What are you going to do about this? And you're not hitting the road. I mean, one, do you think they secretly support these protests because they politically believe that it's an advantage for them? And two, does their lack of campaigning out there, are they in danger, Josh, of running down the same path that they did with Hillary Clinton? Because here's the deal. When you look, as much of a Trump supporter as I am, when you look at the electoral map, it's tough. Okay, one, he clearly has to win Florida. You lose Florida, it's fucking over with. It's done. But then even winning Florida, man, Pennsylvania is dude, you've either got to pull Pennsylvania or you've got to pull another fucking hat trick with the Rust Belt again. So then, again, it takes me back to the question, Josh. Do you think that do the riots, one, benefit them, and that's why they're not addressing it? And then two, is there a lack of campaigning? And what we've seen so far, are they in danger of going down that same path that Hillary Clinton went down?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they'll never come out and say they condone the riots, right? They'll never do that, but they do because that one, it keeps the news and it keeps the media focused on that, right? So they're not focused on all the other shit that's going on, right? The bad shit, right? So Pelosi came out today and the bill, the second stimulus, whatever, the CARES Act Part 2 or whatever, right? It's not going to go. It's not going to get passed because the Senate, the Republicans stripped all the extra shit out of there that they tried to, all the pork that they added to it, they stripped it out. Well, now Pelosi's saying, nope, we're not going to even vote on it because that's just a stripped down bill. And, of course, she spun it to where it was all the Republicans' fault. It's like, no. We want a clean bill. Like there should act. This will never happen, but there should be a law to where when you submit a bill, it can only be one thing. That's it.
Well, remember the line item veto,
you can't
right?
Add shit onto it.
The line item veto has been up there for years, and now I haven't heard line item veto in what, 4 years,
Dude,
8 years?
It's been a
one of the worst
time.
things. They put so much shit on that bill, then they added to it. It was like, oh well, we're going to add military spending on this, and if you don't pass this bill, you hate the troops, right? You don't support the troops. So the riots keep everybody focused on that, and it also shows that Trump doesn't have control. They're like, look at all this violence going on, man. Look, Trump has lost control. It's like, no, mayors and governors have lost control. Because the second, like when Trump sent federal police to protect federal property into Portland, people lost their shit. People lost their minds. They're like, look at this Gestapo, the secret police driving down the street, snatching people into unmarked cars. Hey, guess what, people? If you don't know by now, the police drive around in unmarked cars, so you don't know who they are, you fucking moron, right? But when they get out of the car and you see police somewhere on them, guess what? They've identified themselves. God, you people are fucking stupid. And so they're like, all right, Trump's like, fine, pulled the federal police out. What happened? Shit didn't change. There's still people burning those cities down. They are burning them down. Just maybe, stick with me here. Maybe the police weren't the fucking problem to begin with. I don't know. That's just me, though. That's just some analysis I've done looking at everything that's happened prior to, during, and after this. Maybe the police weren't the fucking problem. As far as campaigning and not getting out into the Rust Belt, absolutely it hurts. Absolutely it hurts. I think it was Pence that was up in Minnesota, or it might have been Trump that was up in Minnesota here last week. It has been they pointed out, it's been 600 something days since Joe Biden's been to Minnesota. And I'm telling you right now, you're absolutely right. Had Hillary gone to Minnesota, had she gone to places like Wisconsin, hit those places, she'd probably be the president right now. Florida is a must win. You have to win Florida. The only way you could win without winning, I think, is if you basically swept the Rust Belt to include Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, everything, right? Then Florida, you don't need Florida, right? You're not going to win California ever, right? Because California is completely batshit crazy now. It's completely out of control. California back. But those states, and that's the thing, is people don't realize that people in those flyover states, those people are looking at what's going on, and they're like, not in my town. Absolutely not in my town. That's not happening here. And that's when people are going to go to the polls. That's when people show up at the polls, because they're like, that's not happening in my town. When you come out and you call all those people racist, when you call them stupid, when you call them uneducated, when you call them deplorables, those people say, okay, they're not going to go out and burn down their city because they're civilized. They're not a bunch of fucking animals like you have in these other cities. They're going to say, okay, fine. And come election day, they're going to show up at the polls. It's just, they can ignore Minnesota, they can ignore Pennsylvania, they can ignore those states all they want to, but it's going to cost them the election again come November 3rd. Right. And you're going to have these people sitting there on, November 3rd, watching those states just fall to Trump. All right. Hey, we've called Minnesota. Minnesota goes to Trump. Wisconsin goes to Trump. Pennsylvania goes Trump. And you're going to have those people again, like they were in 2016, clutching their pearls, be like, oh my God, what is happening? How did this happen? Well, because your candidate sucks. Because you picked Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has put more black men in jail than Biden's fucking sniff kids' hair. Like, it's just like she put black men in jail for marijuana. Like marijuana, and then she turned around and joked about smoking marijuana. You can't send, I'm gonna tell you right now, you cannot send Kamala Harris into the Midwest on a campaign tour. She is not gonna resonate with those people. She is not gonna resonate with those farmers and those blue collar workers. She's not gonna resonate with them. She came from a position of privilege. Joe Biden came from a position of privilege. Those people don't resonate with them. You know who people who resonate with them? Trump Jr. With those blue collar folks, like you wouldn't believe. And Trump, you know what? Trump Jr., he's never worn steel toe shoes, not for a job, but you go back and you look at where, you know, how he grew up and stuff. He wasn't handed everything. He got out and work for it. You know, listen to his podcast. I think he sat down. Who did he sit down with? He sat down with Adam Carolla or Joe Rogan one, and it was really good. Him talking about, you know, him couch surfing and stuff like that. It was really good. But he knows how to relate back to the workers. You know, you got Joe Biden in factories up in Michigan, you know, telling people, I don't work for you.
Dude,
you know,
I saw the one
right?
your thing real quick when you got in an argument on social media.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what? It's mind boggling because then the guy, and I forget who it was, tried to pull a technicality. Well, you know, technically he's not in office right now, so he doesn't work for anybody. Dude, go fuck yourself. You're the fucking problem with politics right now. That's the spin. It's like, really, dude, the guy's running for fucking president of the United States. Well, technically he's not in office doing anything, so he doesn't work. Just say you're fucking wrong, dude. Just say you're wrong. I'm sorry, Luke.
Josh, dude. Okay, so oh God, Josh is killing me. Josh is taking years off my life, and he thinks I'm messing with him. He thinks I'm messing with him because I follow Josh's page. I'm a fan, and he follows a local news, I guess, in a certain part of the U.S. I don't want to give away any details here because I want to protect the Cup's privacy here because we get stalkers, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago. But Josh starts these arguments. I got to back off my mic. I'm sorry. He starts these arguments, and I read like the one you just mentioned. He starts these arguments, and I'm like, Josh, why are you doing this to yourself, bro? I mean, these people, you cannot reason with them. You can't reason with them. And Roger, that's what I was going to talk about is what you just said. This guy he brought up a technicality. It's like, you cannot win an argument with these people because they'll come back again with some cognitive dissonance, and it's just it kills me. And I know he's doing it at this point. I think Josh is doing it to get under my skin, starting these arguments with these people. You know, but you know, I'm like Roger. I really make a conscious effort actually since Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama. I have made a conscious effort to get echo chamber and look at other news sources, as sickening as it is sometimes reading Vox. I try to read it all. And when I see some of the things I've been seeing, specifically, I'll bring up two things in particular. And I'm going to tie this back to the campaign and the race this time. Last night, I believe it was last night in Portland, the Antifa, you know, there's a debate on whether it's Antifa or Black Lives Matter. Whatever. To me, they're the same. They're the same. And try to convince me that they're not. In Portland, at least, and Seattle. Try whatever. They're the same. So it doesn't matter. When I see Antifa right now, just so you know where Luke stands, when I see Antifa, I see BLM. When I see BLM, I see Antifa. Period. That's how Luke sees it. So if you want to argue with me, go ahead. I'll be happy to hear you out. But you see these Antifa BLM people in a suburb of Portland. I'm going to give a shout out to Mark. Mark lives in Portland, and he is right-wing, people. So when we talk about Portland, I'm not talking about Mark. But they're in a suburb of Portland, and they're screaming, shining lights and lasers in people's windows saying, "Wake up, motherfucker. Wake up, motherfucker." They're chanting it with bullhorns at like 1 a.m. When the rest of now I know these are news sources I'm looking at on Twitter, Facebook, and regular news sources on the feeds that I follow. I'm like, is Joe Sixpack in Kansas looking at this? Is Joe Sixpack in Ocala, Florida looking at this? Because Joe and Jane do not like that. And they associate, I'm telling you, as much as the DNC, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris want to distance themselves from that, they cannot. They're tied to it. They are. And Trump is not. Trump is the law and order candidate. Whether that's the reality or not, it doesn't matter. That's the perception. Okay? So if this stuff is getting out with, these people going to the burbs, and it looks like nice, decent, 2-story, white picket fence houses, screaming at 1 o'clock in the morning, "Get up, motherfucker." And there have been some other videos too of them going to suburbs and harassing like teenage girls and stuff. It's like, that is going to backfire really bad. And that's the kind of stuff a campaign can't really manage. It's tough. So, that and the Marquise Love, who kicked that dude in the head, and this is what's so fucked up about Portland. So you got this guy that looks like Chris Thomas. I mean, a friend of ours. Looks like a friend of ours. He's driving his truck in downtown Portland. He does. He looked like Chris. He's driving his truck in downtown Portland, and a trans woman. So I think this is, okay, I'll just say it's a trans woman, whatever, is getting harassed by these Antifa, Black Lives Matter people. So he pulls his truck over and tries to defend her. Okay, they're taking her shit, and there's multiple videos of this stuff. They're taking her stuff, and I'm like, Portland, wait. So Antifa and Black Lives Matter in Portland is harassing a trans woman? But yes, that's what happened. So they're harassing her, stealing her shit. She's like, my medication's in there. So this guy pulls over in his truck and tries to help her out. And basically, long story short, he gets the holy shit beat out of him by a gang of people. I never see these people in one-on-one fights. And when I do, they're getting their asses laid the fuck out. But they gang him, and they beat the shit out of him. And one guy, like soccer ball, or whatever, place kicked this guy's head and probably nearly killed him. His name was Marquise Love, and he was on the run for a little while. Now he's arrested. He is going to be charged. And, I see stuff like that, and these videos are getting out there. As much as the mainstream media wants to call them peaceful protests, the Antifa and Black Lives Matter, the ones that want to get violent, they've hijacked that peaceful protest stuff in the mind of Joe Sixpack. The mainstream media can try to spin it as much as they want. It does not matter. So I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back on what I've said, because I've been real wishy-washy. You guys know, man, I can't make a decision. But I will say this. This is this whole election cycle is a process. You got to make a call like right now. And like right at this point. In 10 days from now, it may be different. But right now, at this point, unless things change, this is going to be a fucking blowout. And it's going to be Trump's going to win if things don't change from right this second. Now, that's easy to say because I'm not taking a hard stance, but I'm telling you, I'm not even going to call it a silent majority, but people do not like this riot stuff. People want to be left alone. They want the economy to get back on track. And this is the majority. And Joe Biden is not popular. There's a lot of different factors that come into this. But that's my call right now. But I will say this. I was shocked, I tell you. Just like Peter Lorre in Casablanca. I'm shocked to find out that the post office sucks. I didn't know that. My God, I had no idea. The post office is a bunch of... recently it turned into... Wait, what? Now I'm confused because the left is saying they're great, but they suck. I don't know. Roger, suss this out for me with the post office, man. What the fuck is going on? Because I thought they were fucked up, and I thought they've been fucked up for the last 17 years or so.
Yeah, so the U.S. Postal Service, and we'll kind of dive into this a little bit because they do have some constraints that are very valid and very legitimate. 13 years, 13 consecutive years of revenue loss, okay, operating in the negative. So they don't receive any direct funds from taxpayers, tax-paying dollars, anything like that. They are supposed to fund their own operations, outside of the revenue they receive for the little fucking stamp that you put on your envelope. And you know what? That's why they want mail-in voting. That's how you know what? It just occurred to me. That is the Democrat plan for bailing out the United States Postal Service, is to have mail-in voting, so each Democrat can mail in 5 ballots per person and increase revenue 500%, and that will bail them out. So they've had 13 straight years of losses, and some of these numbers are actually pretty they're pretty big, man. I didn't realize this until I started digging into this. So year over year, they've had declining mail volume. We all know that because nowadays you have text, you have Snapchat, you have emails, a million digital ways of sending whatever your communication methods, right? It's increased. On top of, you've got competitors out there now. You've got FedEx, you've got UPS, you've got DHL. There's probably a million other ones, On Track, what have you. And with anything that is worth a shit that I like actually value that I'm going to send somewhere, I do it by FedEx or UPS. So they've had declining mail volume. They also have to fund pensions and healthcare. Now, again, that's no different than any other company or any other government organization. But here's the constraint that they have. That they are, and I didn't know this, but do you know they are mandated to fund 75 years worth of healthcare? Who in the fuck came up with that? 75 years worth of healthcare. They are mandated to fund that. Oh, which, by the way, they haven't been funding because they've defaulted on it each year since 2012. So, hey, we're going to come out with a mandate, but is it really a mandate if you don't do it? And then what happens if you don't do it? I mean, because they just haven't done it for 8 years and they just say, fuck it. That comes out to about $6 billion a year. And then it comes out, with their revenue is roughly about 70 billion. They lose on average $3 to $6 billion per year. Now, there was a time about 20 years ago where the Postal Service actually was profitable, where they, and we're not talking about huge profits, but they were bringing in positive $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever. I do think the last time that they were profitable before the mandate to fund 75 years worth of healthcare. And I would tell you, Josh, this is the biggest problem when you talk about socialism, right? When you talk about socialism and just government funds everything, what the big, and I guess, again, people forget, didn't we have some cities a few years ago back in California, like file bankruptcy, right? Didn't we have a city up in Michigan, like file for bankruptcy? And what people don't realize is when these huge organizations file for bankruptcy, I would, from the, research school of Roger, I'd say a large majority of it is due to healthcare and pensions. It's benefit payouts. That's what they can't cover. They can cover, when you look at your police departments, when you look at your fire departments, when you look at these cities that are filed for bankruptcy and these organizations, they can't sustain the cost of healthcare. They can't sustain the cost of pensions. They can't sustain the cost of these benefits that the government and the unions have said that you are going to do this. So they can't operate like a business. You're trying to take a commercial entity and force it into, a socialist economic, process. And that's the problem of it is, and we keep talking about this. We do need to do this in the future. We need to actually delve into government, because when you talk about socialism, that we're talking about, production and the economy and the effects, who owns it, the ownership of production, that type of stuff. So that's one of the problems that the United States Postal Service has had. So that we all know it sucks. All of a sudden right now, the Democrats care about it. I mean, dude, it's 13 straight years of losses. 8 of those years were fucking through berries, right? So nobody gave a shit during those years, but now we give a shit. So then it brings me to this. So clearly you can't continue to operate this way. So, Josh, at what point does the U.S. Postal Service say, hey, and as a business guy, this is what we kind of look at, but we don't wait fucking 13 years. Normally, it's like, hey, if that first year is projected as a loss, then we start to look internally and say, okay, what do we got to do to change? We have to, you cut costs, you increase revenue, and increasing revenue is usually by changing your business model in some sort. So at what point does the U.S. Postal Service say, hey, maybe we need to offer another, and I'm just spitballing here, but maybe we need to offer other services other than mail delivery, since mail delivery is declining? Because I would tell you this, and this is another thing, like my kids, my 21-year-old and my fucking 18-year-old, dude, I don't know they could tell you where the fucking mailbox is. So any bill collector that's mailing them anything, yeah, they're not getting that bitch, because if that shit don't come across like Snapchat or fucking Instagram DM, yeah, they ain't getting that shit. But at what point does the Postal Service say, well, hey, maybe we start looking at other, forms of revenue stream? And immediately what comes to mind is, like, right now, email. I mean, why not get into like a secure email? You talk about, payment options with, digital signatures, right? Because that's one of the problems nowadays is everybody does the Adobe Acrobat signature, which anybody can fucking cut and paste that shit. Why not do what some of these other commercial businesses are doing? Because even the government for us forces us to go through a commercial organization for a certificate, for identity token or whatever. So at what point does somebody at the USPS say, hey, you know what? It's a form of communication. Let's start to delve into that side of the house. And I know we'll cut out some folks from the fucking postal route. I get it. But I think you would employ a lot more people. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Josh?
I think the post office starts to look to make things, change internally on November the 4th if Trump wins. That's when they're going to take a look, because I think that's when they're going to know that, oh shit, like we have to do something and change. So if you go back to 2011, right, and I forget who was president and vice president in 2011. I have to go back and do some research, maybe at the research school of Roger. The bill passed both chambers of Congress, and the then president signed it. So part of this bill was to go around and try and streamline the United States Postal Service. Part of that was trimming some of the fat. They were to close down a little over 3,000 post offices, get rid of some of the mailboxes that have sat out there on the streets that are not being utilized. Again, they try to look at it from a business perspective and say, okay, this is costing me X amount of dollars. I'm only gaining X amount of dollars out of this, out of revenue. I'm in the red. I have to change that business model, as you said. So it called for doing that over the next 10 years. And so I took my shoes off so I could do some math, and I'm looking at it. So 2011 plus 10, man, it seems that the law that was passed in 2011 is in effect, and people are doing shit about it. People are changing things. And now all of a sudden the post office is this great unicorn. It's a sacred cow that you can't touch. The post office has been a fucking disaster for the last 2 decades. If you think I'm wrong, for the listeners out there, order something online, have it sent to you, USPS, and then track it, right? Just track it. Watch where it goes and see how long it takes to get to you, and watch the route that it takes to get there. And then you tell me if you think that's efficient. And then people are like, oh, the post office, I can't, you can't touch the post office. The post office is like any other government organization, especially when you get unions involved. It is a fucking disaster, because now instead of paying the FedEx guy to deliver my stuff, now I have to pay Karen at the post office an extra $20 because the union says so. Well, yes, there are places that FedEx and UPS do not go. There are places that FedEx and UPS, will not deliver to, or they'll deliver to, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but you can send it through the post office, right? And that's fine, because FedEx and UPS were never designed, they were never meant to replace the United States Postal Service. The 2 other things on the post office. One, going back to Luke's point about how sometimes I start fights on social media, or I'll point things out. A lot of it's not that I think I'm going to change those people's minds. A lot of it is to point them out and to see everybody else that sees that, they know that that person's fucking wrong, and point out, because I don't know how many times I've had to correct people saying, the post office is protected by the Constitution. Okay, let's clear this up real quick. No, the fuck it's not, right? Article 1, Section 8. says that Congress may provide a postal service, may provide. So everybody break out your dictionaries and let's talk, right? It's you may do it or you shall do it, will do it, right? Words have meanings. And a bunch of people keep saying that, and it's not what Article 1 of the Constitution says. So if you're going to quote the Constitution and say something that's constitutionally mandated, again, like I've said before, we've all said it, go do some damn due diligence and actually sit down and read what the Constitution says. The Constitution says what it says, and it doesn't say what it doesn't say. It's truly that fucking easy. So before you run around quoting something, make sure you're right. And the last thing I'll say on the post office is this should sum up the post office for everybody in this whole fucking debacle that's going on right now with it. Is I forget who it was, but it was somebody, a prominent person on the far left, tweeted a picture of this lonely blue mailbox in some city. I want to say it was LA or some one of the shithole cities. It said, quote, "I've walked by this a million times and never paid attention to it. Today I stopped and gave it a little pat."
Jesus.
Okay. So you walk by that a million times and you never fucking put anything in it. But now all of a sudden it's the sacred cow that has to be protected. You fucking idiots.
Kind of like that ghetto they drive.
God, you fucking idiot.
Kind of like that ghetto they drive by every fucking day on the way to work until the media told them to pay attention to it. And now they are. Fucking people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely insane. That right there, that sums up the left, that sums up so many things and answers so many questions that are out there that people like walk past and never cared about it until I was fucking told to care about it. Now all of a sudden, oh my God, Orange Man bad. You fucking people. Yeah, okay, so absolute clown show.
Josh said he wanted to bring something up, but we got to bring this to an end, so I'm going to bring it up for him. So Chicago breaking news, August 20th, this was yesterday, citing, can barely read it. Chicago breaking news on Twitter. Citing threats, Mayor Lori Lightfoot defends ban on protesters on her block. Quote, "I have the right to make sure my home is secure." Unbelievable! These people are hypocrites. I'm sorry, Roger, for that sound I just did.
No, do you know what? Did you hear what she said the other day about one of the reporters asked her about the increase in violence? What she attributed to? She said lax gun laws.
Yeah, and I think she said something about gun laws in like Mississippi or some shit.
That's why the violence is so high in Chicago is the lax gun laws, folks.
And then it goes back to the mayor of Seattle. When the protesters showed up at her house, she cracked down. It's like these people are fucking hypocrites. Anyway. Okay, so one of Josh's points about read the Constitution. And you know what? I know we're in a digital world with Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. Read the Constitution, reasonably, if you're literate. What does it mean to you? Do a little bit of due diligence, but man, the framers of the Constitution wrote this for the farmer who was basically illiterate. So that when the mayor of the mayor of a little town could read this Constitution that they had just written way back in the day to the farmers could hear it and understand what it meant. Because not everybody was literate back then. So in other words, this shit is not fucking rocket scientist. This shit is not fucking brain science or rocket surgery, okay? It's the Boule talking, people. Here's my point. Don't let people bully you online. Don't let people bully you online and say, what, are you a constitutional scholar? No, bitch, I don't have to be. I'm a citizen of this country. This is how I interpret the Constitution. If the Supreme Court says it's one way or the other, I kind of go along with that because I'm a citizen here, and that's part of the compact. But at the same time, what does it mean to you? You don't have to be a constitutional scholar to understand it. So I see that a lot on Facebook where people argue about the Constitution. I think that's healthy. But when somebody starts to shut people down and say, what are you, a constitutional scholar? You don't know anything. It's like, man, fuck you. Sorry, Mom. But man, fuck you. It means something to me. It is what I see it. So, okay, I'm sorry. I don't even remember what we were freaking talking about. I mean, we kind of been all over the place, or I have. Roger and Josh have been on point. I've been all over the place. I'll tell you this. I'm going to kick it over to Roger so we can close this out because you guys are probably getting bored and listening to us talk. You know, watch a few things. Watch what some of the people on the left side of the aisle are saying with Schumer and the filibuster, what he's saying about eliminating it completely if they win. And, you know, on the riots in the post office, don't like Josh said, man, that was a great point. Some idiot saying they walked by it 1 million times, they gave it a pat. That is the most cringe thing I've ever heard, but that's how people act right now. It's like they're told what to care about. I'd encourage everyone to go to independent news sources. Find some independent news sources who are legit. Andy No is one of them. He's covering the riots in Portland. He's not sponsored by anyone. He's doing his own thing. I could name off a few others, but man, you go to these corporate media sites, they're telling you what to care about. Padding a fucking post office box after walking by it 1 million times. It's just unbelievable. Think for yourself, man. Think for yourself, people, and don't let people bully you. Don't let people bully you, especially by calling you uneducated. Fuck them. Roger, again, what I tell you about the boule, I'm getting a little emotional here, right? I'll kick it to you, man. I'll kick it to you, bro. I'm done.
Here's my last thing before I throw it back to Josh. And I say this in all seriousness. One of our listeners out there, I would like for one of our listeners who is a Biden supporter, a true Biden supporter, I'd like them to message us or come on our Facebook page or whatever it takes. I would actually like to know specifically what Biden is going to do. And I'm not talking about, he's just going to make America, he's going to improve race relations. I want to know what policies Biden and Kamala Harris have that make you believe are going to be better than what Trump's had or what Trump's, instituted over his last 3-4 years. And then I'd like to further carry on that conversation because this goes back to Orange Man Bad. I don't agree that everything President Trump's done has been correct. But you never, once you get down to substance, like I hate Trump, he sucks. Okay, I get that. So defend that. So what policy of his sucks? It goes back to Josh's, institutional and systemic racism. So what law, what organization, what public policy, what specifically out there is racist? Tell me that. So when it comes to, President Trump, tell me a policy that's bad and why it's bad. Do some due diligence for us. Educate us. I'm all about it because, we'll call a spade a spade. But for Biden, tell me what has he done that's good? Let's get into Iran, right? Let's get into the TPP. Let's get into NAFTA. Let's go into his voting history. Let's look at some of the policies and procedures that he has. And you tell us, and again, I shouldn't sound so aggressive with that, but what policies does he have in place that is going to be better? That's going to take us to a better place than where we're at now. And then when you go, again, on the flip side of that, I'd like to know with President Trump, hey, what specific policies are we looking at? And then be prepared to defend your position, because for those of us that have listened to us for more than one episode, hey, if you go down the COVID route, you better be prepared to defend yourself. Be prepared to defend yourself from the statements, because the internet was around last year and around earlier this year, but be prepared to defend your position just as we will. And you know what? I mean, we kind of like the DNC, we've thrown out first. You kind of already know where we're coming from. So I would actually like to have an honest, debate, and maybe not even debate, just more like, educate me on this. I mean, do you really believe that Joe Biden has better policies going forward? And if he does now, why has it taken 47 years? So I know, we've covered a lot of this. I don't want to beat it too much, but hey, man, I encourage any of our listeners out there to, DM us, PM us, or wherever the fuck else we have. Come on Facebook or, Anchor or whatever it is. And, I'd be curious to see what those thoughts are and interested to get that dialogue started. So that's it for me. Josh, kick it to you for your closing thoughts, brother.
Yeah, I would challenge anybody out there who disagrees with what we have to say. Come on. We'll have you on the podcast and we'll chat.
Throwing down the gauntlet.
Let's have a spirited.
He just called you guys a bunch of pussies to get your ass on Culver's Canteen Cup, and we're going to throw down.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
come on the podcast. We'll have a spirited debate, and you tell us why we're wrong. You tell us why. Yeah, no, we'll be fair. We'll absolutely like I got a compliment the other day from one of my more left leaning friends, and they said they appreciated the fact that when I got into spirited discussions and stuff with folks on my Facebook page, that they appreciated the fact that I did not shut anybody down, and the fact that I kind of moderated and told people I guess everybody gets passionate, right? Everybody gets passionate. Name calling starts. That I usually only shut that down. Okay, nope. We're not going to have any of that. We're going to have a cordial conversation. You can be passionate. You can be passionate without being disrespectful and rude, right? So we'll be passionate, but we won't be disrespectful or rude to you. You're more than welcome on here. We're more than welcome to hear have your voice heard. Get on the cup and.
I got to cut you off. Sometimes it seems a little rude when you tell people. I'm sorry.
Well. Sometimes, you know what, I can't help the fact that facts don't care about your feelings, right? So if facts hurt your feelings, maybe this is not the place for you, right? Maybe you should see if Anderson Cooper's on, or you go hop on what's the chick who looks like a dude with the Rachel Maddow, right? Maybe that's more your speed. On the so real quick, I got to throw the name out there. So the tweet about the mailbox was from Mary Louise Kelly at NPR, right? So she's on NPR. I passed this mailbox on a corner 1 million times, never gave it a second thought.
The Portland mayor chain himself to a mailbox?
Oh my God.
No.
Right? Because they're all up in arms because, and this is so stupid.
Chain himself to a mailbox.
They're all up in arms because there's this big scandal going on that the Postal Service is removing mailboxes. Hey, so newsflash, like shit gets replaced because it's broken. Right?
Or people don't use it.
Or they don't use them, so they move it to an area
figure that one out
where people actually use them. It's absolutely insane. And one last thing. So New Jersey just announced they are going to have to redo a recent vote. Why? Why are they going to have to redo that recent vote, you ask, Luke? Because they use mail-in ballots and there has been massive fraud. That's why. That's why we're not doing mail-in voting on November 3rd. That's why it should not be allowed. If your ass can go riot, if you can show up and throw bricks through windows, your ass can go to the polls and vote. If you can go to Walmart, you can take your ass to your local fire station.
But my health.
So I'll leave it at that. I'll turn it. But grandma, like, fuck you, dude. Kumo's gonna kill her anyway. So gam. Nope. So I'll kick it over to
wow.
To
see, Josh didn't read the fucking outline. You didn't read the outline.
Oh, that's all right. So I didn't know I was going to close this out. I want to give a few first name shout outs, but we really appreciate y'all listening. We got some faithful listeners out there, and I'd encourage you to go over to YouTube and watch, because you get to see some of the facial reactions. Because some of the funny things that we say, that Josh and Roger and occasionally me will say, we don't have time to unmute and so everyone can hear us laugh. So I'd encourage you to go over to YouTube and watch that, so you can see some of the reactions that we do, the thumbs up, the flip off, all that stuff. It's it's a lot of fun. So check it out on YouTube. Give us a like or a review on iTunes. Really appreciate y'all listening. It means a lot to us. And we talk about that. We really do. So thanks to Carlton Zeus again for that music. We're going to have you on pretty soon. And I'd encourage you to go over to iTunes and download his stuff. It's a lot of fun. Or go to YouTube and watch it for free. Doesn't matter. He's getting paid either way, especially with that Trump 7-figure deal he just did with YouTube. My God. So anyway, Canteeners, thanks for listening. And until next time, keep your canteen cups full and tightly secured.
All right. And for you YouTubers out there, your freemium crappy content starts now.
Wait a minute, it's not crappy. It's good.
Your crappy.
It's good.
No, it's gonna be crap. You got Luke's into the Boulay Rye right now,
guys,
which means he's gonna get all.
So you know
emotional.
what? I pulled up the
Or I
electoral
hate
map, right? And this is actually well, no, what's gonna happen is he's gonna be like, fuck you dudes, and then he's gonna start feeling bad about, man, I didn't really mean to say fuck you. Shit, man.
That's how exactly how it goes.
I'm sorry. And then I start getting the fucking Facebook messenger. Hey man, I really didn't mean that. You know, I thought I was a little abrasive.
He's gonna do that's the shit, dude. That's the shit that Jerry would do. Jerry would get angry at you at a call sign or something like that. Jerry would be like, "Hey man, can you see my face right now?" And he would yell at you, right? He'd be like, "Oh, grr, 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 grr," and like an hour later, he'd be like,
I didn't mean to call you a fucktard. You go fuck chickens. I mean, dude, by now I've already had 4 or 5 drinks and motherfucked you to death. So yeah, we're over it. But I was pulling up the electoral college map as far as what they're looking at for polls and all that other stuff, and it's kind of scary. So, like, just based off of what leans left and right, Biden is sitting at 268 and Trump is sitting at 185. Florida is a toss-up. Arizona's a toss-up. Fucking Georgia is a toss-up. What the fuck is wrong with your people down there, Josh? Georgia's a fucking toss-up? Really? I mean, does Stacey Abrams does her and fucking Oprah have that much fucking pull down there? I don't get it.
He's speechless.
Yeah.
You know, before he cuts in, I wish we could go back in time and look at the electoral maps then and now, but I really do believe what I said. I mean, I think if it was held tomorrow, it would be a freaking blowout, man.
But you have to look at the states, though. You have to look at the states. So which states would he pull to make it a blowout? I mean,
yeah, time and time again. You're right.
So, fucking Arizona, dude. Arizona is just like Georgia. Georgia's turning purple, man. I'm telling you, Georgia is not locked down anymore.
Well, no, and that's what takes me back to what Luke was saying. You know, he thinks it's going to be a blowout. Is okay. I get that, like that mentality, but then you say, okay, well, what states go to Trump? That Michigan,
Minnesota. I think Minnesota. I think it's going to be the same.
So along those lines, let's say he pulls Arizona. Let's say he pulls Florida. Let's say he pulls Georgia. If he pulls Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, like he sweeps that. If he pulls Ohio, that would put him at 295, and he pulled Pennsylvania, that would put him at 315, and that's pretty much almost what he had in the 2016 election.
Well, I think there's going to be some surprises. I really do, man. I think that.
Well, they said they put an October surprise, right?
Who did?
I think it was either Trump's son or somebody was alluding to the October surprise.
We'll see. I don't know. A lot can change. It's Jesus, man. What, we're 68 days, something like that. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that I don't know. I don't see people turning out. I don't see them turning out for Biden, man.
That's what I think will happen. I think you'll have lack of voters.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to turn out for Biden. Unless something significant changes. They talk about the October surprise. So when I think it was, I don't even think it was Don Jr. I think it was Eric Trump that said something about an October surprise. One, Eric Trump does not, like, I don't know, man. He doesn't resonate with me at all. Right. I'm a big fan of Don Jr. I really, really like Don Jr.
He's like the little brother, man, that just tries. He's trying.
But when they say, Eric, you know what it came across as? It came across to me as when people like Trey Gowdy would come out and be like, oh no, we're going to call him out. We're going to do this. We're not going to allow this to happen. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. You guys come out all the time and say this, that, and the other. I was shocked when they when they indicted Kleinsmith, right? For falsifying the information for the third FISA warrant on Carter Page. Like, I was shocked when it came out. It was like, hey, there's an announcement coming today, in the Durham investigation. It was like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, you guys have been saying this shit for, months and a year now. And it's like, finally we got it. We got the smoking gun. And they came out and they're like, oh shit, they actually indicted somebody. Like I was shocked. Not surprised about, the fact that they found out that happened. We already knew that they had done that, but the fact that they actually indicted him and then he pleaded guilty, I was like, oh shit. Like, I was actually surprised.
I think you're on mute, Luke.
Private Jones, man. Private Jones strikes again, people.
Hey,
check
Private Luke, on the YouTube, you don't have to mute it. You can just fucking let it roll, dude.
I'm not gonna go too far behind the curtain. I was about to, but I won't. Have you guys noticed that Trump has changed, man, over the past month or so? Dude he's still feeding off the energy, but he's reading off the prompter. And the guy is not, this does not look like 2015, man. 2016, I'm sorry. It doesn't look like that. He wants to win. I mean, obviously he wants to win, of course. But dude is reading off the teleprompter. He's saying the right things. And some of these moves he's making, like the Susan B. Anthony thing. I mean, what the fuck? You got the left canceling Susan B. Anthony. That was a genius move. Dude, I'm telling you, I think they're going to kick it into high gear starting next week. The RNC, man, they better step it up, like you said. I don't know, but he's changed, man. He is not making these boners like he has been. He's really not.
So let me throw this out at you. I was just looking some rough numbers and looking at the overall primary. I told you about the one guy that I had been following a little bit, that he tracks primary votes and primary numbers or whatever. So Joe Biden pulled in, total of all the popular votes for the primaries, pulled in 17 million votes running against other candidates. 17 million total, okay, across the country. Donald Trump pulled in 18.5 million, which conservatives didn't even have to vote during their primary because he's the incumbent. I mean, he obviously had some challengers in a couple of states, but there's no motivation for us to go out and vote. You vote, you don't vote, he's going to be your thing. So you're looking nationwide, again, take it for what it's worth. It's 1.5 million plus to Donald Trump. If you totaled all of the votes for the Democrats, it comes out to about 21 million. So I tell you what, man, it goes back to what you just said, Luke. The RNC, there's plenty of time to fuck this up, right? You can't fuck it up. But, bro, Democrats, they have to get out and vote. If you don't get out and vote, I could very easily see more than 4 million people not showing up to vote for Biden. Easy.
People aren't excited for Biden, man. People are just not excited for Biden at all. Even with Kamala, and Kamala does not resonate with the black community. She doesn't.
Who does she resonate with, man? I mean, it's like they're
Willie Brown.
They're targeting this very, yeah. Wow. It's like they're targeting this very narrow audience. It's like, God, you guys have to get the beer swilling jackass in the Midwest, man. You have to do that. And you don't do it with Kamala Harris, and you don't do it with Billie Eilish. You don't do it that way. But whatever,